How do you handle socializing? Do you feel like you're able to be yourself? Or do you ever feel like you go into this frame of mind where you're trying to be somebody else? How do you handle socialization? Do you feel like you're truly able to be yourself? Or do you feel like sometimes you're faking it? That's what we're going to be talking about today on the Introvert Experience. What's up, everybody? This is Terrence, aka the Introvert Leader. Welcome to the Introvert Experience. And I wanted to talk a little bit about socialization. So, in the episode last week, we talked about managing your social battery. And so, for this week, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how we approach socializing in general from day to day and in our different conversations. And this is in light of, last week and this episode, me going to a really big festival here in a few weeks. So it's now 2 weeks away. I'm definitely looking forward to it, but at the same time, it's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of people. I know I'm going to be making connections and networking with a lot of different folks, but there's going to be over 30,000 people there. And my introvert brain is trying to prepare. I'm trying to get ready. So I just wanted to talk through socialization a little bit as I'm getting ready for that. And as I said a few weeks ago, I want to document the process and let you all know how it goes. So I'm going to bring you all along the journey. I plan to document some things while I'm there because I do feel like the fact that I'm an introvert doesn't mean that I can't network. It doesn't mean that I can't stretch myself or get out of my comfort zone and do different things. And so I want to be able to show you all that real time that I'm pushing myself and show you all how that goes. All right. But socialization. So I've talked about this a little bit in the past, but when I got to college and just throughout my time in college, I drank a lot. I drank a lot. All right. And when I really look back on it now, a lot of it was I was having a good time with my friends, like you're away from home for the first time and you're out on your own and you're meeting people from all across the country, you're making connections and you're just young and having a good time. Um, so that was just one piece of it. I mean, I had some amazing experiences, made some lifelong friends. I mean, people that I still talk to frequently and some deep connections. But there was another side of it for me too. And that side was when I was in high school, I would get called quiet a lot, or I would get called reserved and all these different kinds of things. And for those that listen to this that aren't familiar with my story, a lot of that began to shift and change for me when I was in middle school around the age of 13. I had a situation happen that really shifted a lot of just my demeanor and the way that I was. So I got kind of used to being called like the quiet guy, right? And you might be listening to this and you might have had a similar experience. Maybe you've had people call you quiet before or assume that, you're just a certain kind of way and maybe they don't even know you, right? Well, I know that feeling. So I went through that. And when I got to college, I said to myself, I've got to be different. I've got to be different. And I realized that when I would drink, I would get more social. I would get more social. Like I would talk more. It felt like I would laugh more and I would joke more and just my demeanor would be a lot more loose the way that I was. And that's how I felt anyway. But what's really funny is I think back on it now and I remember that a lot of people that went to school with me in Florida in college, a lot of them called me quiet too, you know, because what I realized is when I'm just in my natural element and I'm just in a group setting around people and everything like that, a lot of times I'm observing, a lot of times I'm taking things in, I'm listening to conversations and things like that. So alcohol might have put me in a certain frame of mind, but my typical demeanor and the real me, right? People might perceive as quiet, people might perceive as reserved. And so nothing about that was going to change, right? Like that's naturally my demeanor. And I'm cool with that. Now, what a lot of people don't realize, and people that truly know me know this, but people that I'm comfortable with, I'm not quiet at all. I'll have my moments where I'm chilling and I'm thinking and I'm listening, but I can talk all day with people that I have something to talk to about. So I'm saying all this to say, do you feel like you are able to really be yourself around the people that you're around? I want you to think about the people that you work with. I want you to think about the people in your home, your family, your friends, people that you spend the most time with. Are you able to be yourself? Now, I will say that in work situations, and this frequently happens where some people are one way at home and around their friends, and they're a completely other way at work, right? I think that's a pretty common thing where you have some people that they just don't feel as comfortable around the people they work with. I know that for me, I have coworkers that I'm cool with and I'm comfortable with and I can talk to, but they don't necessarily know everything about me. Like they don't know the real me, right? And I think there are a lot of other people that are probably the same way. You may be listening to this and you may be the same way. So, some of that I think is inherent to us, where as humans, we interface with different people and we decide who the people are that we can let in. Now, this is probably even more the case with introverts, where we tend to be very introspective. Oftentimes, we get a lot closer to people in smaller group settings or talking one on one. So, in those kind of situations, we may build bonds, but oftentimes, if it's somebody that we're acquaintances with, we're cool with them, we can speak, we can talk, but can we authentically really be the real us? Maybe, maybe not, right? So, how many genuine relationships do you have? That's kind of the first thing that I want you to think about as you're listening to this. And then also think about when you're socializing, how often do you feel like you're really being you? Like, how often are you really being you? And I started thinking about this because I used to view networking as this thing where you go to some event and you're out somewhere and you need to meet these people. And so you need to impress them, or you need to talk about certain topics, or you need to be able to answer certain questions or talk about certain things. Like you have to kind of fit this checklist or this criteria in order to meet people, right? And that's how I used to view it. And I know it sounds super cliche and all that, but being yourself is one of the hardest things to do. And it's also one of the things that very few people ever learn to master. But when you are yourself, and I have noticed this, it's crazy that it took me getting into my late 30s and now my 40s to realize this. But being yourself, when you do it and when you master it, changes the game. It completely changes the game. So, like when I go to this festival here in a few weeks, I don't know who I'll talk to. I don't know who I'll meet. Maybe I won't meet that many people. I don't know. I haven't been to the festival. I've heard a lot about it, but I have a feeling that I will. I have a feeling I'll have some really good, meaningful conversations. And at the end of the day, I'm not nervous about those conversations because I know that as long as I'm me, I'll be all right. Now, if I was trying to be something else, if I was like, okay, well, I'm Terrence, the introvert leader. I got to introduce myself this way. I need to sound this way, and I need to match the energy of these other people, and I need to like that. That would just be too much for my brain. My brain would explode. That's just too much pressure, right? And you may at times in your life have felt that pressure of feeling like you have to meet some standard when you're socializing, or you have to sound a certain way, or meet somebody's criteria in order to be in certain rooms. I'm here to tell you that's just not the case. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that there aren't some settings where communicating a certain way is better. I'm not going to say that. Like certain rooms that I'm in, I'm going to communicate maybe a little more formal. Where other rooms, if I'm with people that I'm close with, friends, family, things like that, I may use some slang. I may talk a little different. It depends on the setting. It depends on the situation. If I'm giving a presentation, right, I'm probably going to present my information a little different than if I'm talking to a completely different group. So I'm not saying that that doesn't exist where you don't need to be aware of your surroundings when you communicate. But in general, what I am saying is to stay true to who you are. Like, stay true to who you are. You know, being yourself is the easiest thing to be. People talk about authenticity, they talk about be yourself, be authentic all the time. But it's one of these things where until you truly do it and you have the feeling of what it feels like, you just don't know how freeing it is, you know? So with socialization, don't force anything. Don't try to meet anybody else's standard. Don't try to impress anybody else. Just be you. Just be you. And I really want you to think about, how often are you able to do that? How often are you able to socialize with people when your battery's right? We talked about that last week, right? When your social battery is good. How often are you able to socialize with people and it feels real? It feels genuine. It feels like a real conversation. You're tapped in with this person. They're tapped in with you. You're listening. They're listening. You all are exchanging ideas. You don't feel fake. It just feels like a genuine connection. Like, when that happens, I think that's beautiful. And as introverts, we can absolutely have those connections. And many of us do. And when we do, it's an amazing thing. So if you don't feel like you have connections like that, or if you don't feel like you're able to socialize in that way where it feels genuine, let me know. Shoot me a note. You know, I would love to hear what you feel kind of your roadblock is, or why you feel like you don't have those connections. Shoot me a note at info@terrencelee.com. I would love to have a conversation and just, hear more about that, because I know what that feels like. I've been in situations and times in my life where I didn't feel genuine connection. And I've felt like I was faking it, or felt like I didn't have those close connections with certain people. So if you feel like that, let me know. I'd love to hear from you and we can talk about it. All right. So we are now at T minus, like I said, about 2 weeks until this festival. So y'all wish me luck out there. Um, I'm mentally getting myself prepared for all these people and all this conversation. So I'm getting ready for it, but I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be an amazing experience, and ultimately it'll be a good thing. And so we'll see what happens. I appreciate y'all listening and being on the journey with me. So with all that said, I hope you have an amazing week. And remember, when you are socializing, to be yourself. Don't try to be like anybody else out there, because there's only one you. All right. So as always, remember, there's only one you and there's only one life. So make it count. God bless.